in the Latinx Students in Engineering live chat. We'll be starting the session soon, so stick around with us as others continue to join the webinar. So hi everyone. I know everyone was privy to our setup earlier, but the question I have for you guys to kind of have a fun little thing before the session starts is, have you all done anything fun or celebratory for Hispanic Heritage Month?
I know that.
Oh, go ahead.
I have not, but I've been eating a lot of Mexican food, and I went to my grandma's house because I live nearby. So I went home like last week, and she made me a ton of really good food. So I would call that celebrating, but I don't know about anyone else.
My mom ordered me so there's like a small business here, like by one of the business admin kids, and my mom basically ordered like a surprise for me. It was like 12 cupcakes of tres leches cupcakes. Bro,
Yum.
So good.
it was so good.
So good.
I'm savoring them.
And I went down to Irvine. There was like this festival down there. And so one of my friends was like from Irvine. He was like, oh, we should like totally go. So I went there and we ate food and stuff.
Nice. I had a bunch of pupusas the other day. Also, I'm trying to like put forward like a Latino potluck nearing the end of Hispanic Heritage Month. Happens so soon, but I'm trying to get some people in my building here where I live to, let's try and initiate something fun. But yeah.
Have you guys ever tried like pupusa pizza? I don't know, like if you guys heard of it. Oh my God, it's like the best thing in like it's relatively close to campus too. Like it's on Washington. But it's this huge pupusa that like you could basically kind of pull apart like a pizza because it's so big. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever.
Wait, what's the name of the restaurant?
I don't know the name. Hold on, let me try to like find the name because I just know my way around.
I need to try this. Oh my God.
So good.
It's great. It's great. It's called, let's see. Oh my God, why am I losing it?
I looked it up on Reddit, or like I Googled it and it came up on Reddit as LA Pupusa Urban Eatery Bear DTLA. And there's a picture of it. It looks amazing.
It's the greatest thing. 100% recommend. It's not too far away from campus.
Okay, I'm definitely
Oh my goodness.
definitely going there. Mateo, you should get that for the potluck.
Stop. I should. I was gonna cook, but like low-key, that sounds pretty good too.
Oh yeah, home cooking is good too. I can never get like my pupusas right, but I just am not a good cook. But anywho, I think we're good to start now. I think these are bounding up. So thank you everyone so much for being here, shown here. We're good to get started now. First things first, we want to welcome each of you once again to the Latinx Students in Engineering live chat, brought to you by us, real life Latinx engineering students who were in your shoes not too long ago. Before we move on, I do want to thank the panelists for taking the time out of their Sundays to join us. Thank you, panelists. Shown here is our agenda for the next hour. We'll be kicking it off by introducing our panelists for the evening, all of whom are current engineering students. Then we'll be answering questions that you all submit on the webinar Q&A feature, though I will ask that you hold on submitting your questions until we get to the Q&A portion of the chat. It's probably obvious given the title, but today we'll be discussing our experiences as Latinx students in USC's Viterbi School of Engineering. Any question about the student experience at USC, in engineering, or in college in general is fair game. If you're viewing the live chat recording at a later date, don't worry, you can still email us your questions at bstudent@usc.edu. We may not get to all the questions during the session, but if you email us, one of us will follow up with a response. And as a reminder, we are just students, so we're here to share the student perspective of Viterbi and cannot answer the majority of admission-related questions. Please direct those to our admissions staff at viterbi.admission@usc.edu. At the end of the session, we'll spend a few minutes going over how to get in touch with the Viterbi admission office, how to stay in touch with us, as well as sharing some resources that may be useful to you as you navigate the application process. Now, without further ado, let's introduce ourselves. I'll go ahead and start. My name is Emily. I am an electrical and computer engineering major with a minor in cultural diplomacy in the class of 2023. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm from McLean, Virginia. Additionally, some of my involvements on campus are I'm the co-president of USC Makers. I'm a teaching assistant for the undergraduate course of the Distributed Systems and Internet of Things class here on campus. I've also done some undergraduate research in the Human-Robot Interaction Lab on campus and held some internships at Microsoft, as well as competed in 5 hackathons, and my background is Salvadoran Jewish American.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mateo. I'm a sophomore at USC studying biomedical engineering with an electrical emphasis. I'm originally from Menlo Park, California, which is about 40 minutes south of San Francisco. I'm a Honduran American student here at USC, and some of my involvements are SHIP, which is the Society for Hispanic Professional Engineers, where I'm the SHIP Junior Director of Outreach. I'm a Viterbi student ambassador. I work part-time in the USC Village. Last summer, I held an internship at Viterbi Admissions, and I'm a Hispanic Scholarship Fund mentor.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cynthia Sanchez, she, hers. I am a junior studying industrial and systems engineering, minoring in law and migration studies. I am a Mexicana, particularly from Oaxaca. So where my Oaxaqueños, if there are any. Some of my involvements include being co-director of mentorship for women in engineering, director of outreach for the Institute of Industrial and Systems Engineers, also part of SHIP. I am diversity, equity, and inclusion director for women in politics. I have a labor compliance job. I've also been part of the Curve Fellowship here and Viterbi, and also part of USC's Latino Alumni Association. And in the works, there is a new organization coming up for Oaxaqueños at USC, which is just like Oaxaqueños in higher education.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ernesto. I'm originally from Azusa, California. I'm currently a 4th-year student studying mechanical engineering with an emphasis in petroleum engineering. My pronouns are he, him, his. My background is Mexican American, and some of my involvements, past and present, include Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, Curve Fellowship, part-time job at USC Housing, as well as the opportunity to be a Viterbi Summer Institute student leader.
Hi, my name is Cevina. I'm studying civil engineering as a freshman. I have an emphasis in building science, and I'm from San Luis Obispo, California. My background is Mexican American, and some of the involvements I'm a part of are SHIP, the Concrete Canoe Design Team, Earthquake Engineering Research Institute, and then I'm doing research through the Curve Fellowship, and I'm a part of the Children's Scholar Society.
And finally, this is our moderator who will be behind the scenes responding to some of the Q&A questions that don't get answered live by our panelists. Let's meet her.
Hi, everyone. My name is Celine Vasquez. I'm a junior studying biomedical engineering. I'm originally from Montebello, California, and my pronouns are she, her, and my background is Mexican American.
Now it's time to submit your questions. If you are on the webinar, we encourage you to submit questions now through the Q&A feature below. And if you're viewing the recording later, you can email us your questions to vstudent@usc.edu for answers at a later date. We want you all to know that a few years ago, we were all in the same exact position you're in now, applying to colleges and trying to decide where would be the best fit for us. That's why we're here to answer your questions and speak about our honest experiences as Latinx students at Turvy. While we wait for the Q&A to start filling up, first question for all of you. You guys are all super involved and super impressive. So thank you so much for your time. But also, what organizations do you think have had the most impact on your experience at USC so far?
I love this question. For me, something that really helped me out was joining SHIP, the Society for Hispanic Professional Engineers. Funny story, actually. So SHIP usually holds its meetings Tuesday nights. And so when I accidentally scheduled my lab classes from 5 to 8 on Tuesdays for 2 semesters in a row. I was missing out on so much in SHIP. And so when I finally, like for real, joined it this semester, which is my first semester sophomore year, I really immediately felt the community. It just means so much to me to see other Latinos outside of my classes that are sharing some of the same struggles and successes that I have and have had a similar background. And it's just really encouraging to help me move forward.
I would have to agree, SHIP. I've already, like as a freshman, I felt like I didn't really know that much. And SHIP provides like so many workshops within like resume building, LinkedIn. Apparently I needed LinkedIn. Like SHIP has helped me so much, like through guiding me and how to be like a college student, mentally and like academically.
For sure. For me, I have to piggyback on that same idea. I joined SHIP. I was more active with SHIP my sophomore year through the academic and wellness committee. So I was really involved through that. I didn't go as much to the general meetings just because, again, I'm a commuter. So Tuesdays, I couldn't really make it on campus. But my way to get involved was through the academic and wellness committee. And it was like a great experience.
Yeah, one of the great opportunities I've had as a student is joining SHIP. In addition to that, the Center of Engineering Diversity has been a really kind of great place on campus that has kind of molded my experience here at USC. They support both the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, but also NSBE as well, which is the National Society of Black Engineers. They also support Quest, and it provides kind of a safe space for a lot of engineers who sometimes may feel like they're in the minority, and kind of having that community and that camaraderie really has helped make me feel at home at Viterbi.
Yeah, adding on to that, I do love the CED. It's also like a physical study space. It's on the second floor in one building on campus, and it's actually like padlocked. Like you need to have a password to get in. Sometimes they leave the door open, doesn't really matter. But it's really nice to just have like a space to study, printing materials, and it really just like is one of like the many supports that we have at USC. And this one's catered towards us, you know, so it really does mean a lot.
Yeah. And like CED, like if you meet any of the staff at CED, from like Thelma, who just joined CED, to Tracy and Christina, if you meet any one of those people, like they're the greatest people. You're struggling, like email them, like tell them I'm struggling, like I need help in this, and they will guide you to different resources. So totally reach out.
Yeah, those are some amazing resources and organizations here on campus. You guys, Stephanie has a question about mentions of SHIP, and I think all of you mentioned SHIP and CED. But can you guys talk about in more detail about what, you know, the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineering is? I know for all of us, it's been really important throughout the years, and kind of your involvements within it, and what SHIP is and what it does for, you know, Latinx students at USC.
Yeah, so with SHIP, I joined basically by like filling out a form and paying my $20 dues for 2 semesters. It's a really inclusive community. It's not competitive to join. And of course, I really appreciate that because SHIP offers so much for me specifically. Like I've had mentorship opportunities from upperclassmen, like Cevina mentioned, resume reviews, LinkedIn, informational sessions, general body meetings. Additionally, this November, early November, I'm being sponsored to head to North Carolina for a national convention where I'm hopefully going to land another internship through Turvy. And just these resources alone make it so worthwhile.
Also, like adding on to that, like SHIP, it's not only like you're involved through SHIP, yes, at school, but you're also like part of the LA regional SHIP, right? That connects you to so many other opportunities, internship opportunities. I've like had so many opportunities open up because I'm connected to the Los Angeles chapter of SHIP. And so having that kind of community both in school and like around LA are really powerful. And like those people who know, well, like the people who are part of like the regional part of like LA will also connect you to other parts or other ship chapters across the nation.
Just to add on to the kind of the power of familia and ship, I'm currently wearing a friendship bracelet that we were braiding today in one of our weekend wellness events. So that just goes to show how close I am to ship and how much I enjoy kind of the community there, the people. They really encourage you to seek out like leadership position, and you really feel comfortable because there's never kind of any particular like overburden or stress kind of within the actual kind of within the body of its members. You always kind of feel very included, kind of no matter where your background is in terms of kind of your Latinx origins. And even if you aren't like kind of Latinx, you still have the chance to join because SHIP loves its kind of allies. And I think it's a great opportunity to just kind of meet new people from similar backgrounds. And there's so many different opportunities for building that kind of professional aspect, whether it's, as Mateo mentioned, through LinkedIn reviews, going through the regional and the national conferences. Kind of you really get a little taste of everything. And sometimes you are actually tasting food because we have kind of social events where we go to Korean barbecue. We have an event called Shipsgiving, kind of similar to Friendsgiving, but instead it's with your ship friends and familia.
Yeah, I think that was a great overview of SHIP, especially for the students who haven't like heard of it before. So thank you guys so much. Additionally, Alejandra and Delaney have some questions. Actually, I'll answer Alejandra's first, which more or less gets to the point of how did you kind of get yourself ready for an engineering program, or how did you feel you started preparing for college kind of when you were seniors? What did that experience look like for you guys? And is there any, oh, sorry, I'll add on to that. Is there anything you wish you had done differently now that you're here?
I'm really like, oh, go ahead, Cevina.
No. So like I was in high school just last year, so I like remember it kind of well, but at the same time, midterm season, don't remember. Like time management is really key. Like it helps so much to build that foundation in high school and then apply it in college. And even more so when you have like, even though you only have like maybe on Mondays, you only have like 2 classes, like you need to study for like the other classes as well. And then you also have like all of your extracurriculars. So that building a foundation in time management was like very helpful. And I really like, I take advantage of like having built that in high school. And then I guess like if there's anything that I wish I had done in high school, I don't know. That's a hard one. I don't know. I feel, listen, I got to this point. So, I mean, nothing could have been that wrong.
True.
True. I could definitely add to that. I'm trying to like dig back into my memory, my high school memories. But something that helped a lot other than time management, which is super, super important to figure out before you enter college, is being really proactive. If you want something, you need something, you have to go for yourself and, you know, kind of pull yourself together and go ask or go seek the help you need. Because in college, it's kind of like you're on your own. Nobody really is like gonna be like, oh, go do your homework or go do this, or you're forgetting, give you little nudges here and there to guide you. It's not like that. You have to create your own nudges and own reminders. In terms of like high school, what would I've done differently? I think taking more breaks. Just in general, I feel like I pressured myself too much like my senior year, and I was like super stressed about it. but I recommend people to take breaks, especially as you're writing your college essays. Take those breaks for yourself, for your mental health. Go out for a while and just get inspiration from, like, you're gonna end up, the college that you will end up being accepted into is a college where you're meant to be. So, you know, like, I didn't expect to come to USC, but it came to me. So I was like, okay, you know, I love it. I'll just go. So it's kind of that kind of situation. So don't feel like discouraged. The college that will end up accepting you is probably the best fit for you.
Absolutely. First, I really agree with both of you guys. Time management and being proactive. Proactive is like a great word. I wish I would have thought of that. But I guess another piece of advice I would give is to start early. Now, it is like the deadline for merit scholarships is approaching pretty quickly, November 1st. So that little piece of advice may not apply right now, but you need to make the most out of the time you have left. And I say time you have left like you barely have any. You have a lot of time. Trust me, a month away, you got this. So another piece of advice I would give you that kind of like ties into this one is to use all the resources around you. Some of you guys might be first generation or live in a town with very little Latinos, you know, and maybe you guys live in a place with lots of Latinos and lots of accomplished people, but you really need to use a lot of the resources around you. And I really mean that sincerely. Like, sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit alone in high school. You know, no one really had the same experience as me. No one really had the same motivations as me. But then I realized, like, all my teachers, you know, they all had to go through this. They were all in college. And so I really did consult with lots of my teachers, my guidance counselor, and also like alums from my high school that I knew and that were currently living like college. And, you know, so I really did use my resources. And you guys have such like a privilege to have access to Viterbi student. And so if you guys have any questions specifically that we can answer, go ahead and email that email, vstudent@gmail.com. Or is it usc.edu? I think it's vstudent at usc.edu. That one. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, thank you guys so much for sharing that information. I know, you know, being a senior in high school applying, it's really stressful and hard to kind of get a grasp of what those resources are. And kind of like on that trend of these earlier years, I know for you, Cevina, you're a freshman, so you're still probably answering this question for yourself, but how did you all figure out what you were going to major in going into freshman year, or during your freshman year or later? Did you end up switching majors? Did you end up switching programs? How did you figure out engineering was the right fit for you?
Yeah, so I was originally gonna like study mechanical engineering because it was such a broad field, and I thought that would allow me to like, you know, have a broad like career path. And then I ended up getting an internship my senior year that was working for basically like making plans for like clients, and I really liked the program AutoCAD, and as like I was looking more into it, and even on one of the like I think it's still on the application now. It was one of the great challenges. I gravitated towards urban infrastructure, and so when I look more into like infrastructure, sustainable infrastructure, optimizing the built environment, I really gravitated towards civil engineering. And then when I went into like civil engineering, I looked at all the emphasis, and building science allowed me to take architecture classes along with structural classes and my civil engineering classes. So it just felt like I would be able to be an engineer while also having like hands-on and like creative like availability. So that's why I chose civil engineering.
Wow. I love this question because I swapped like 4 times. I originally started with civil engineering. I'm actually still very passionate about buildings. I like love, if I see a beautiful building or concrete, I'm gonna like stare at it forever and like be amazed. Anyway, but I saw from civil engineering, I had a structural emphasis. And then I was like, maybe I don't want this. Maybe I want to save the world like through more sustainability and like all these other things. I went into environmental engineering for a minute, a whole semester. And then I was like, maybe this is not my area. The professors were great. They were all phenomenal in the environmental engineering department. But then I was like, no, let me like swap over. So I went into electrical engineering. And I did research within electrical engineering, but then I was like, maybe this is not my calling. I don't really feel it. And so I was contemplating a lot. I went undecided. I was like, maybe I'm like a political science major. I was like, I don't really know. It was like a summer of hassle. And then I decided to I had a mentor who was an ISC mentor. And he told me, why don't you take like ISC? Maybe you'll like it. And so I took one class, fall 2021. And I was like, I kind of like this stuff. I'm going to take more classes. And I ended up actually, majoring in industrial and systems engineering for that reason, because I started off by a little bit because I had no idea what ISC is, no idea what this whole like little domain is. I like was never introduced in high school to industrial and systems engineering. So I went in there like not knowing what it really is, but it was so broad, and that's what I really liked it. Like mechanical engineering, it was kind of like ISC is very, very broad. So you could do basically anything with that background. So I was like, oh, yes, I don't want something too niche like electrical engineering. I want something broad. And ISC was like the perfect match. And then I just brought in like a minor in law to fulfill the political science side.
That's really cool how you changed 4 times. I changed like once, technically twice, and I'll get into that. So I actually had a pretty unique situation. In high school, I was not really exposed to engineering much at all. But I knew that I really liked math and science, and I just didn't really know what to do with it. And so while applying to schools, like I was trying to see like, hey, what would I be into? Like, what kind of majors are there? But there was actually one that stood out to me, and it may not be what you expect. It was undeclared engineering. So obviously that's not a real engineering, right? That's just like a placeholder almost. And so I actually did apply to USC as an undeclared engineering major, which means that they would admit me into the School of Engineering, and I would have at least 3 semesters, or I think at most 3 semesters, to decide which discipline of engineering that I wanted to pursue. And the way that they would help me with that decision is through taking intro classes. So you take 1 intro class per semester, and through that exploration, you may love that intro class and want to continue the major. And if you don't love the intro class, you can take another one, right? So to decide which introduction class I wanted to take, I kind of like looked at what was around me, right? I was like, what's going on in the world? What do I want to fix as an engineer with my math and science skills? And, I seen the pandemic around me, and that really inspired me to try biomedical engineering. And if you don't remember, that's actually what I'm pursuing right now. And if you think like the major that you're picking is a little too broad for you, like many of us have said, we're doing emphases. So for biomedical engineering, there's 3 emphases you could choose from in addition to the regular track. You can take an electrical emphasis, a mechanical emphasis, and a molecular cellular emphasis. And so like when you think about it, like if you love biomedical engineering and love mechanical, you can do both. If you love like biomedical engineering and electrical engineering, or just like are interested in it, try out like the classes that will be on the emphasis track for that kind of emphasis. That's what I did. And I hopped from molecular cellular to no emphasis and then back to electrical. And I still have time to change because I'm just a sophomore. So yeah, definitely I would recommend in your exploration for majors to look at the emphases for every major, and you might just find something that fits you.
In my experience, I haven't switched majors. However, I would say that USC Viterbi has really given me the luxury of being able to kind of really contemplate if the major that I selected, which was mechanical engineering, was the right one for me. One of the ways that Viterbi I felt was so accommodating was through the USC, the Turvy Summer Institute program. It's one of the programs that myself, I know Cynthia, as well as Emily were in. And I would say it was a really positive experience because it exposed myself and plenty of the other students within the cohort to opportunities to take kind of a math and physics, and then later on a computer science course, as well as actually doing research at the college level. And just having this exposure to what STEM looks like kind of at a university, what engineering research looks like, really helped me to kind of solidify kind of my convictions. And in addition to that, USC, it's really great in terms of kind of its course sequences, where you're actually taking an introductory engineering course that first semester. Whereas in other schools, you may have to go kind of weave through this maze of like endless kind of general education requirements those first couple of years. So I really felt like mechanical engineering was a good fit for me kind of in that first semester. And USC has just like what can almost feel like an endless amount of different emphases for most of its engineering majors, and within the different disciplines. So as Mateo was mentioning, for BME, it's very similar in that case to kind of, I know that electrical, chemical, and in my case, mechanical, we have many different emphases that you can choose from. And I chose to do petroleum as it's one of the few schools along the West Coast that kind of offer this emphasis. So I would say that USC Viterbi not only gives you variety, but it also kind of gives you kind of an extended time frame to make that decision, which is really, really cool.
Wow. I mean, I almost got whiplash from all of the major switching from some of you all, but it's so amazing to hear about like the USC and Viterbi gave you the opportunities to change majors, and I really appreciate all of your stories. Jose is asking, if any of you are first generation students, how do you deal with the pressure or expectations that come with studying at USC?
It's hard. If I'm being bluntly honest, it's hard. Also like a first generation student, as well as I think Viterbi does a little bit much better job in terms of like gender differences. We have a 50-50 on, or close to 50-50 on gender, but having those different identities kind of intersect as you're coming in, and the different like expectations that you're held against, I guess, is hard, especially your first semester. I remember thinking, am I capable? Am I smart enough? And do I even belong here at USC my first semester? And it was really, really hard. It's really, really tough. But Viterbi does a great job. If you get into Viterbi, you have it. I mean, you have the grit basically to work your way through. So like, regardless if you're first generation or it's like, you know, or you have all these other identities and all these kind of expectations to meet, you have the grit to finish them, and you have the grit to make it to the end goal. And what I'm trying to say is, regardless how hard it is, you will eventually make it, and you will learn so much from it. Being first generation, at least my first semester coming into USC, it was really, really tough. I was like, I don't know if I could handle this. I don't know. Like I was contemplating my, doubting myself, and like contemplating my decision in coming into USC. I'm like, maybe I should have gone somewhere else. But it was the best decision I could have done for myself. It showed me how to build myself as a person, and build myself career-wise and academically wise too as well. So those expectations that they hold that are held, I guess, as a first generation, don't let them kind of be a kind of like this barrier. Kind of take them more as a challenge instead, and say, if I try my best and do a little every single day, I will get to this challenge and finish it off, because I have the tools, I have the knowledge to get me through it. And yeah, you'll need maybe a little support here, maybe you'll need a mentor or whatever. But Turvy does a great job in providing mentorship. It does a great job in providing community, whether that you find it through SHIP or through some other organization where you find community. You will find community, and they will help you get through these challenges. So don't worry so much about the expectations that are held here on campus, because if you get here, it's for a reason, one, and you have obviously the grit and the tools to get through that.
Yeah, to complement further what Cynthia said, unfortunately, we don't live in a world that is grounded in equity. And being a first generation student can definitely feel like you're being imposed certain expectations that were never kind of on your plate before this. Personally, I went to a public high school that didn't have all the resources in the world. We didn't have an AP physics course, even an honors physics course. We didn't have calculus BC. And just going into a conversation the first couple of days in my mechanical engineering course, it felt like that's literally all like the rest of the student body would talk about, that they had seen this concept in a previous class they took in high school. And I was like, what? That kind of was just kind of crazy to me. And sometimes feeling like you don't have a certain head start can feel daunting. But what's important to keep in mind is that as a first generation student, you shouldn't feel like you have to run a sprint. What's most important is learning to calibrate your pace kind of as you go along this marathon, because there will be trials, there will be tribulations, but I would say that kind of progress is definitely not linear. And if you've ever tried something that you found to be rewarding, you will find that the struggle is going to be something that you can't get away from. So I would definitely say that I'm a more prepared student and kind of a better student for choosing to come to USC Viterbi as a first generation student. And I also feel like so lucky because now, the lessons that I've learned in the classroom and kind of outside of it, I'm able to impart on my little sister. And as she's going through kind of the college application process, what to do in high school and kind of which schools to look at in particular, I feel so lucky that I'm able to impart kind of my 10 cents on the whole situation. So just know that although it may seem hard and kind of harder than the path that others have, it's definitely one worth taking, and it makes it that much easier for everyone who chooses to follow your path thereafter. The hill will get kind of less and less steep because of you. And I think that's something that's really, really awesome.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing, Cynthia and Ernesto. I know that was really, really helpful. Not along those lines. Another question from Catalina. She says she comes from a strict Hispanic household and the nudges and pressures are constant, and that even her grandma is asking her if she's done her homework and to see her grades. So how did you guys handle the transfer from, if you had this kind of micromanaging environment, to being on your own, is her question. Or if you didn't.
I guess like almost in a way, like I feel like some people that may be coming from like a micromanaged environment may long for that sense of freedom, or otherwise they may like not have a sense of direction without it. But really the way you're gonna have to tackle it is just like everyone else, but at the same time, like you do it your own way. just like something I've had to find out on my own, like your comment says, like no one's telling me ponte las pilas, like no one's telling me like do your work, no one's telling you to go to bed at a certain time. Like everything is really in your control. And so the way that I kind of have to transfer from that environment to a very independent one is just to almost like remember like the teachings and the everything that I've learned from my family, just because like they know what they're talking about. Sometimes it may feel like maybe like they're saying too much or they don't really know, they haven't experienced it, but really like they just want what's best for you, and so do you. So you get to make those decisions, what to listen to, what not to listen to, and ultimately you're going to make the right decision, because I have like confidence in all of you. Thank you guys all for showing up, by the way. You guys are making an excellent first step in joining this live chat, or maybe like first step of many to come, and I hope you guys get a lot out of today.
All right. Going on to Itzel's question of how manageable are engineering classes? Some of you are freshmen, some of you are seniors or upperclassmen. So how do you feel like the courses are for you?
I mean, I'm only taking intro to civil engineering right now. I personally think that my first semester has been going like really well. I've been able to manage everything, and I still get to like go out when I want to. Like yesterday, I went to K-Town with my friends, and I still make time for homework. So it's not like because you're an engineer, you're gonna have no social life and like you're only ever gonna study. Like that's definitely not true. You will have a lot of time to study, and then you can also make time to go out. But that's just like for my first year. Obviously, I'm not an upperclassman and taking those like heavy technical classes yet. We'll see then. I don't know, maybe you guys could talk about the upperclassmen like classes.
Cevina, I know we're both working on it together during one of the ship study nights. Like even though you're just taking the intro class, you're also taking differential equations and 2 to 3 other classes. Like that's all of us engineering students too. Like for example, my freshman year, I was taking Calculus 3, Intro to Biomedical Engineering, first physics class, and a rigorous writing course. And of course, like I said, these classes are rigorous, but really they're just challenging. It's just a challenge that you have to overcome and really just like get into the rhythm too. You know, like in high school, like I was taking 6 or 7 classes and I downsized to like 4 or 5. But really it is kind of the same or a larger course load, believe it or not. But that's not to scare you. That's just that these classes are like a little faster paced, just because you don't meet every day in the week, like not 4 or 5 days a week. You meet like once, twice, 3 times a week. And, you know, so there can be like only so much you get in 1 hour a day. And that's what makes it seem a little difficult. Also, like midterms and finals, don't worry about that. You guys are excellent students. Regardless, you guys will make the right decisions. You will develop study strategies really quick. And that's really just the best way to tackle these rigorous classes, is to figure out what works for you and what doesn't, because everyone has their own teaching styles. Like for me, it's really important. Like I need my own space. Like I don't sometimes work the best with groups, you know? That's just something I learned from experience. That's just something I had to learn in order to tackle some of the things I've had to tackle. In addition, like we have things going on outside. We have extracurriculars. I also had work. There'd be some nights in my freshman year that I was working until 4 a.m. making cookies. And that is a struggle, having to go to class the next morning at 8 a.m. But really, you will get through it. I'm still here. You still see me. It can be a struggle, but I would not recommend working past midnight. Don't do it. I promise. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
If at most 2 in the morning, and that's it. Like 2 in the morning, and go to sleep. It's
Find
okay.
another solution. But you live and you learn. I learned. All right.
For sure. Yeah, I would like also add on to that like Mateo said, it's kind of look at it as a challenge. And once it's over, like you look back at it and you're like, that was kind of easy, to be honest. Like, you know, you flex on yourself, give yourself some props for that. right now I'm taking majority major classes, and one minor class, to have a little break between all like the heavy engineering. And I think it's very manageable. Most of the professors, once you get into, I think, higher, like more into major courses, like the higher ones, you kind of already have developed the skills you need, one. And then the professors are like great, or at least my professors right now, they're great at teaching. They know what they're teaching. And since you're the one who kind of picked the major, you're enjoying the content. Like I devour the content like minutes because I kind of enjoy what I'm doing, right? And so it's not, it becomes less, I think, like this burden, I guess, that you feel in freshman year, that it's kind of like, oh my God, I have to do so much work. It becomes more like, oh, well, I have to do this and that. And it becomes kind of like you're just constantly enjoying. So you're constantly getting kind of the dopamine in, and it's just really, really exciting to go to class every other time. Even lab, when you have lab, you're like, oh yeah, great, I have lab today. And the days go by so quickly, so you don't even realize how much work you're putting in. It just progressively, at least for me, it got kind of progressively easier because of those challenges I faced in like my freshman year and my sophomore year.
Yeah, to speak on kind of the challenge aspect of the coursework, I would say that don't ever feel afraid to reach out. I think kind of, having a sense of pride of, oh, well, I can do this on my own, or I don't really want to tell anyone if I feel like I'm struggling on a particular concept. It's probably the worst thing you could do in college, because there's just so many resources in Viterbi and in kind of the college environment in general that are made to help you succeed, whether that is kind of the teaching assistants, otherwise known as the TAs, the professors. They have office hours and they're literally getting paid to assist you. And even then, kind of there's a boatload of other kind of ways to help you kind of improve in your courses. It's definitely very useful to reach out. I know Mateo mentioned that he likes to kind of study kind of more in an isolated sense. But you can definitely reach out and make study groups if you feel like that's your kind of best form of studying. And if you do choose to kind of, study it alone, there's always plenty of resources that you can look at either online. I know at USC, for a lot of the introductory courses, there's such a thing called supplemental instruction, which is kind of made by the departments of the particular classes that are kind of aimed to help you get that extra practice in. So I definitely think that kind of as kind of Latinx students, we definitely hold sometimes a sense of pride that, you know what, I can do this on my own. I can figure this all out by myself. I don't really want to tell anyone whether I'm struggling or if I feel it's hard. And it's okay to say, you know what, I don't get this. And it's okay to say, you know what, maybe not everything is perfect. And because people will be there to kind of assist you and guide you along the way. And sometimes fine-tuning that process can definitely be as valuable as what you are learning in the classroom.
For sure. Thank you all for your responses. And I agree with Cynthia, 2 a.m. is the upper limit of homework. That's what I've learned in these past couple of years of studying. It's always 2 a.m. for me. A kind of more serious question from Stephanie and Emmy. I'll combine their questions into one, which is how welcoming USC feels to, Latinx and Hispanic students. Stephanie says LA is pretty diverse and asks if USC reflects that. And Emmy also just asked about how you all deal with stereotypes and prejudices of specifically being a Hispanic woman in engineering, but for Mateo and Ernesto, also just being Hispanic in engineering as well.
Personally, I also did VSI of a Turvy Summer Institute the summer before coming here. And I think that helped a lot for me personally as a Latina studying engineering. It showed me that like I got to meet other minority or like other Latinas in engineering. I got to meet other women in engineering that were from a minority background. And it showed me that I did have a community to go to. Still hang out with them basically every single day. I built like a really good relationship with them. So I already coming onto campus like the first day knew that I had a community to go to. So I really enjoyed that aspect. And I think USC in general is a pretty welcoming environment. Besides CED, we have La Casa, and they host a lot of events like imposter syndrome, like events like that, if you ever feel it. Just things like that. So I felt like I had a lot of support and was very welcomed onto campus. I didn't, obviously you have to be proactive and find those resources and find those people, build the connection, be able to like reach out to people and start, you know, building those relationships. But they definitely are here on campus.
And to deal with more geared towards like the woman in engineering aspect, there is an overarching organization. Well, there's two really. One of them being Women in Engineering. We overarch basically all the women in engineering. So you could definitely reach out to us. We're happy to help in the case that you ever need something or need help, or you face some kind of bias or discrimination or stereotype kind of conflict on campus. Feel free to reach out to us. We hope to support and create a community where women feel empowered in pursuing engineering, making sure that all of the women who do apply to Viterbi are actually going to retain and get their degree, you know, at the end of it. Because in other schools, we usually have where there are plenty of women applying to engineering school, but they end up dropping because there's lack of support. And that's something that we don't want to do. And we want to emphasize a lot here at Viterbi, and encourage women to continue pursuing engineering. And our classes, like I mentioned before, they're kind of like split 50-50. So I think that kind of environment has also helped me kind of feel more welcomed, especially since in high school I went to an all-girls school. So it was just much more welcoming for me coming into Viterbi, knowing that there's going to be a 50-50 split instead of being like one of 3 girls in engineering. For LA as well, like I want to add on to that. I'm from LA. So I think USC seems to reflect that a lot. It just depends on, again, who kind of you meet the first round, but definitely I feel like USC has a really diverse population.
Yeah, I would say that given that USC and USC Viterbi are so diverse, sometimes it can feel like a culture shock. I came from a high school that was 92% Latinx, and kind of stepping on campus for the first time kind of really opened my eyes to, you know, how wide of a world we live in. And I think that Viterbi in particular really makes sure that everyone feels kind of at home because of, you know, not only the diversity you see in the classroom, but the diversity you see from faculty, kind of like the programs themselves. And I really think that here it doesn't necessarily kind of, you're not defined by, you know, where you come from. I've never personally felt kind of any form of discrimination for my background. And I feel really kind of blessed because of how proactive USC is about celebrating not only Latinx kind of Heritage Month, but also like Hispanic Heritage Month, but also kind of, you know, having those safe spaces for us, including CED, La Casa. It definitely doesn't feel at all performative because there are so many resources that, like we've already mentioned, that are there for us. And in addition to that, although sometimes just being in a classroom where maybe you don't see as many familiar faces can definitely feel a little bit daunting. I would say kind of pursuing kind of not only connections with your Hispanic brothers and sisters, but also kind of reaching out really helps you kind of, become more respectful and more understanding of other cultures. And in that way, there's that interchange, that exchange that really makes the engineering community here so special, where you can have, you can have friends who are, of a Korean American background, and you're going to get fusion tacos with them. And it's like a little bit of both from both cultures, which is so special.
Yeah, thank you all for your responses. I really appreciate, your honesty and your experiences, and thank you for answering all your questions. Kind of what Ernesto was saying about fusion food. My best friend's Indian, and there's this place close to campus, 23rd Street Cafe, that does Indian Mexican fusion, and I always feel like, wow, look at that. But yeah, more importantly, if you guys have not tried it yet, it's actually pretty good. But yeah, that was our final question. We hope you enjoyed the live chat tonight and gained some insight on what it's like to be an engineering student at USC. If you missed any of the chat, you can rewatch the whole thing on our YouTube channel. We would love for you to stay connected, and a way to connect with the Viterbi admission office is through an information session. This is a great opportunity to learn more about the application process. If you are interested, you can register at the link on the screen. This is also a great time to take a picture of the screen so you can have this information for later. We would love to see you at more of our live chats. You can see the calendar for the next few live chats coming up in the next few months. And you can also follow us on Instagram at Viterbi Student for reminders about our upcoming live chats. We also want to take a moment to shout out some amazing resources for students. You can see their websites right here so that you can connect with them and see what they're up to. And as a quick but important reminder, the early action deadline is November 1st this year. If you're interested in attending USC, consider applying for early action. Just applying at the state makes you automatically considered for merit-based scholarships, and you'll also be notified of your acceptance status sooner. So would definitely recommend applying if you are ready. Lastly, stay connected with Turvy students. We would love for you to follow us on our social media accounts. We have an Instagram, Twitter, and a not even newly made TikTok anymore. We also have podcasts available on Spotify, SoundCloud, and I think possibly Apple Music. Just look up Viterbi Voices, and we have videos on YouTube. If you want to learn more about what life is like as an engineering student at USC, or have more questions for us, make sure you email bstudent@usc.edu. Big shout out to all of our panelists tonight. Everyone was amazing, and I really appreciate all of the time they spent answering all of your questions. Thank you again for tuning in, all of you, and good luck on your college applications. Stay safe, and as always, fight on.
Fight on.
Fight on.